Welcome to Creative Spaces Podcast with Guy Zwick, Chief Creative Officer of Highway 85 Creative. In each episode, we will discuss creative ways to define your space and build your brand.
I can't hear myself, Joe, so I'm just going to keep rolling. But we're here with our special guest. I don't have the names in front of me.
Well, sir, who are you and who are you with?
My name is Mark Goldberg. I'm an associate of MarketTech 360.
Okay. And then who do we have here?
My name is Holly Sherrill, and I'm the owner of MarketTech 360.
Okay. And you, sir?
I'm John Pavic. I'm Chief Marketing Officer for Exhibitor Magazine and Exhibitor Live.
Oh, all right. Cool. We got an all-star crew.
Thanks for joining us, Mr. John. Appreciate it. I think we gave you the preamble as we got started, but really it's the whole theme of our booth today. Highway 85's booth is embrace trade shows for what they are. They really are a chance to make connections, cultivate relationships, and it's not dead. It used to be 5 years ago. It was the demise of the trade show industry. There's a reason why Las Vegas and Chicago and Orlando and all these offsites still exist, because nothing beats a cocktail. Nothing beats talking to somebody, and it can be a very almost. Folks spend a lot of money and time planning for trade shows, and they show up and they pass out their swag and they scan someone's badge and they move on to the next. Oh, we checked the box. We step back for a second and think about why you're doing it. What are you getting out of it? What would constitute success? And then treat the trade show with respect, because you get a lot more out of it ROI-wise if you do that. And what we're trying to talk to people about is, it's shamefully, we think, it's the exception to the rule that people really value trade shows for what they are. They just check the box. And so that's kind of our premise, and we're trying to flip the switch a little bit and say, be thankful that you have these shows. Be thankful that you have an opportunity to reach out, strengthen relationships, meet people for the first time, and further those conversations. And so I'll pause for a second just for a breath to see if you guys have any immediate reaction to that.
I do. I heard a quote recently from an executive at Salesforce.com, and he said, no matter how smart your phone gets, it will never replace face-to-face. And I thought that summed up trade shows perfectly, right? Yeah. Because, technology is great, and we use it for so much, but trade shows, you're getting in front of people and having that face-to-face connection that you just can't replace any other way.
You're seeing facial expressions.
Yes.
The handshake means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One of our Exhibitor Magazine readers recently told us why trade shows. Well, you can't shake hands with an email. Thought that was clever.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Right, and nobody buys anything from anybody that they don't trust. And when you shake hands, when you have an engagement and you look them right in the eye and they look you in the eye, there's a trust level. And when you depart and there's an agreement on a next action, you've just accelerated the selling cycle.
Right, yeah.
And I think I cracked into this industry probably 20 years ago myself. And I remember my first CEO, I asked him why we were doing a trade show. This is like NET, Northern California, I think mid-90s. And he said, well, if we don't go, we're going to be conspicuous in our absence. And he was a big English guy, so he had a clever sounding way of saying it. But the gist was, if we don't show up, people are going to think we don't exist. And I remember thinking even back then, that's a poor reason to go to a show, spend $30,000 on a 10 by 20, pay for rigging to get the sign, get all the salespeople trained to get there. $125,000 later, what do you have to show for it? And I just always thought, even back then, if you don't treat that opportunity with the respect that it's due, you're never going to get anything out of it but an accounting black hole. So, to your guys' point, if there's, you can never beat face to face, and a lot of times, even with companies that have longer sales cycle, it's an excuse. Hey, are you going to be at the so-and-so show? Let's go. We're going to have a meeting room. Let's talk. Let's take out the cocktails. I mean, I'm binge watching Mad Men with my wife right now, and I'm in season 3 or 4. But there's a huge part. The account guys, people do business with people they like. Full stop. And if you and I had the same product, Holly, but you're just a better person, which you probably are, than I, they're they're going to do business with you. And there's no science in that. That's human nature. So people forget that one of the biggest pulls for exhibitions, especially one like this, is to rekindle old relationships, talk to people, share ideas, and in this space, most of the people here are servicing clients.
Right.
And if you can get ideas to help them better put that message out there and actually get something from it, then you're in really good shape.
Yeah, I was talking with somebody recently. We were talking about, selling on the show floor. Most of the people, that we know in the space aren't actually writing an order on the show floor. But what we're talking about, deepening the relationship. So there probably are going to be several other touch points that are going to happen along the way. So you can't say the one trade show probably sealed the deal for the sale, but it aided in the process, and it furthered you along to one step closer to a close, which eventually is what we're trying to get to.
Right, that's brilliantly said. And I think a couple of our earlier guests were more on the consultant side, and they give a lot of props to Exhibitor Live and the workshops and helping people. It's more of a mindset thing. If you're going to spend the time to send people and put your best foot forward, there are ways to do it more efficiently. And I think I got to give my hats off to your organization to actually spend the time giving people workshops that they can actually use. Because I've been to a lot of high-tech trade shows where people just show up, and it's a long sales cycle, and they're not lazy, but their systems aren't in place to sort of take that connection, put it into Salesforce, then follow the lead all the way through. But your organization is giving these guys and gals tools to make trade shows a really important part of their marketing arsenal. And that's something I think to be proud of.
Yeah, well, both our organizations, Exhibitor Live and MarketTech, exist because trade shows aren't easy to execute. MarketTech, you guys are experts in measurement and training for how to improve upon those factors that are measured. And we're here, of course, because there are lots of exhibit managers out there that really need the help.
It's well said. And I think if you don't mind, I'm going to just kind of go off script a little bit and go back to the beginning. Would you guys mind telling me more about MarketTech? It's like the elevator pitch, but I'd love to ask you some questions about what you're all about and go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been in business 33 years, and really in that time our specialty has been exhibitor staff training and measurement ROI services. So what we're trying to do with the training is really not tell you how to sell, because most of us that bring Salesforce to work a trade show, they're already probably the best out in the field, right? But
you would hope so, right?
You hope so. Yeah. But just because they're really good at what they do out in the field doesn't mean they know how to work a trade show, because it's such a different setting.
Absolutely.
And so what we're doing with our training is really showing them how to transition their skills to be more effective in the trade show environment.
So a large part of your training is just introducing to the sales folk a different way of approaching exhibition face-to-face? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because, you think about it, when they go out in the field to call on customers, most of the time they know their customers already.
And it's one-on-one.
They've been in there, right? It's one-on-one. It's not awkward. In the setting on the trade show floor, they're strangers walking down the aisle, right? And it's awkward. Nobody wants to make an engagement.
It's like a really bad dating game. Everybody's wearing badges, and I'm kind of looking at your badge. Do I need to be talking to you?
Exactly. I'm going to look to the floor so I don't have to make eye contact with you. Representatives, believe it or not, even the successful ones, they get very, reticent to engage people in that environment. So it's really showing them techniques they can use that work on the trade show floor and how you engage with people.
That confidence. We talked about it earlier with one of our interviews. It's that having that confidence to talk to anyone, and then you're going to make them feel a lot more comfortable. And I like that. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool.
There's a bunch of commotion at the booth, but that's okay. It's all part of the live podcasting. So, but MarketTech, you guys do specific training, but it seems like you do more than that as well, right?
So the other half of our business really is measurement. So
that's the part that I want to kind of get into a little bit.
And they actually make a nice marriage together, the staff training and measurement. Right. Because really what it comes down to is performance improvement, and that's really what we're trying to get at for every client, is helping them improve their performance at the trade show. So through training and then measurement, to understand what's working at your event and we spend so much money at these trade shows, right? How do you know that what we've done is working, that the customer is walking away with the messaging. We spent so much money on developing the theme.
Sure.
That they're more inclined to do business with us. So we have a number of measurement products and services that can help our clients understand what's working, what's not, so that they can make performance improvement.
Thank you, great answer. Let me ask you a question. Before they can use it's a software suite, yes?
Not necessarily software suite. There's a number of different services.
Okay.
Typically done on site live.
Okay, wonderful. It's even better. So before they can tap into the efficacy of what you offer, they actually you're almost forcing them to ask themselves, well, what do we measure, right?
Right.
And that's the biggest. One of the common themes I'm finding today is that people still show up. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to have some skateboards and some beer, and hopefully it works out well. But you have to actually ask the corporation, the company, well, what are you going for? So are you having to, almost as a consultant, sort of help coach them into identifying those objectives that matter to them?
Yeah, many times we do. In an ideal setting, everybody would be doing that already. That's what we hope.
That's exactly it. In an ideal... I'm doing air quotes here. You guys can't see me at home, but I'm doing air quotes because,
it's so true. I mean, I taught a session this morning, and I still couldn't believe the number of hands that went up for people that are not putting actionable goal setting before a trade show. So in an ideal setting, they've already done it. If not, we're going to try to help force the issue to say, why are you going to this event?
So that's what you do? Do you actually sit down with them and say, hey... Because part of, without getting into too much detail, part of what... Did guys kind of talk you through this already, this whole GPS kit? Basically, it's taking what you're talking about now and saying, if you want to be successful, identify what those things are, identify what you can do to hit those steps, and then it gets the whole company, the whole stakeholders, involved with being on the same page. Because without that, you're going to go somewhere and spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And what are you going to leave?
So when you look at this, we'd say that the one thing you want people to understand is what is it your offer is that will help them, correct? So measurement for you would be talking to people that walk away from here and say, what's one thing you learned while you were in this exhibit, number one? What's the message that was delivered to you in this exhibit? Number three, are you more inclined to reach out to Highway 85 as a result of visiting this exhibit?
And that's part of the mindset on the booth. Are we asking those real questions, or is that sort of...
That's what we would ask the attendee.
Okay.
To see if you achieve your objective in being here and investing these resources. If it comes back and says, yes, we learned something,
right.
Here's what we learned, be thankful.
Sure.
We learned about Highway 85, and we learned that we're more inclined to reach out to them for a solution when we have a need. Then
that's a success. That's a trifecta right there. Right.
That's how the process.
So, kind of a loaded question, but I'd like to ask all of you the same question, and please answer it in turn. If you met with 10 companies getting ready to go to one of their big trade shows in the year, how many companies out of 10 get it? Start with you.
Not too many.
Yeah.
Because they still perceive trade shows as a must, rather than an integrated part of their marketing communication portfolio.
Sure.
And it goes back to most of the people today, not quite, but most of the people that are making the budgetary decisions for utilizing this medium think of the medium as fluff. And the reason is it's so hard to come back and say we generated 15 leads that will turn into $750,000 worth of sales within 6 months.
Right.
But if you look at it and say we talked to 1,500 people over the course of 4 days,
sure,
and 37% of them told us what our message was, and 50% of those told us they'd reach out to us because of that message. Different response.
No, and I want to say one thing to that, because I think what you hit upon is something that's been a pet peeve of mine. Is I think a lot of people, unfortunately, marginalize how powerful conversations are. So that in and itself. So let's say back in the day when banner ads were popular, I had so many clicks on my Facebook campaign. Well, who cares? Did anybody call you? Okay, they went to your website. Okay, but real face-to-face conversations with a human being, it's hard to sort of quantify that in terms of dollars and where it pushes you in the sales cycle. But to me, that's kind of the holy grail. So I have a couple of my clients on the side so I'm a consultant I'm a good friend of Guy Zwick's, and I help him produce the podcast. One of my trade show clients, they're in Barcelona right now at the big Mobile World Congress show, and I wish we had a chance to talk to them about exactly what we're talking about right now. Well, they're going there to have conversations, and I just want them to value. They have 3 meeting rooms of probably 10 or 12 meetings every single day, so that's like 36 plus meetings over the course of 3 or 4 days. Those are very valuable. Now, where they go, how to sort of put a little mark on them, that's harder. That's probably what you guys can help with. But I think folks in general don't appreciate how powerful face-to-face conversations are. So to the same question to you, would you say 25% of the people who do trade shows for a living, companies who do trade shows, get it and do it right? Or what kind of number would you?
Yeah, there are a number of companies I do work with I do think get it.
Brilliant.
So
Sure.
I don't want to undervalue that.
It's an unfair question, but there's room for improvement, let's say.
Absolutely. I think, to your point, 25-30% I probably would say are what I've experienced. That they just aren't putting, quantifiable, measurable objectives in place. I mean, saying we want to take 500 leads at a show, and I hear stats like that all the time, that's not, a quantifiable objective.
What's a lead?
What does that mean?
Yeah. I scanned your badge, you got a free beanbag. Is that really a lead?
And then when we go to ask for more money next year for the show, how on earth am I going to prove to management any kind of value? Versus if we said, like a stat that Mark used, we took 500 leads and 80% of them signed up for a follow-up demonstration out in the field.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, now that's completely different, isn't it now?
See, that's well said. It's almost like repeat business for a restaurant. If your product's good, people will come back. Full stop. And just these days with longer sales cycles and more, it's harder. So, John, I guess the same question to you. I know, to be fair, this is different. This is a different kind of trade show. People here are all, so far this is the first time I've been here. I've been around people who've been here, but everybody here has and correct me if you think I'm just laying it on too thick here, but there's a very cool collaborative feel to this place. Everybody here is trying to find out ways to actually do right by the end customer.
It's the most energetic week of the year for this industry.
Wonderful.
And before John answers it, one thing, I've been here for 30 years. I'm not supposed to say that, but this is my 30th year.
It's okay. No problem.
The most promising thing is that every single year we've had more and more people attending, trying to learn how to do it right. And that's the encouraging part.
Yeah, I would say, there are companies out there that get it, but there are a lot that don't. Exhibitor Magazine did a recent survey, and we found that less than 2/3 of companies, and this is people, these are among our readers that we surveyed, they're all, very passionate about trade shows, enough to get a magazine every month on how to do it.
Right.
Only less than 2/3 set formal objectives for each trade show that they're in. Less than 2/3, and that's kind of shocking.
I think that's a pretty telling thing to say. I mean, these are people in the industry, some of the power brokers out there, and you ask that question, and 33% say we don't set a clear objective before they get.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, but we're here to bring people together who do what you do, and it's a big community. I think the reason there's so much energy here, it's kind of like family, and among the conference attendees, they don't often get a chance to meet someone else who does trade shows. It's not the most really common job in the world.
No, it's a really good point. Now, I have to ask you, Holly, I don't hear an accent. It says you're from Alabama.
I live in Alabama. I'm not from Alabama.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Connecticut, born in New Jersey.
Where in Connecticut?
Brookfield, next to Danbury.
I went to school in Fairfield. I'm from Connecticut as well. Nice to meet you.
Oh.
I went from Bristol, home of ESPN, but I left there, San Diego, Denver. Now I'm in Phoenix because I wanted to actually buy a house because California was too expensive for me.
Yes, it is.
But no, it's interesting. We'll have to talk later. But so you live in Alabama now?
Yes.
And yourself?
Cape Cod.
You're all right. So where in Cape Cod?
West Dennis on the South Shore between.
All right. I got family up in mostly in Truro, North Truro.
Oh, sure.
So yeah.
The outer Cape. We
were just talking to a woman who's from who lives in Boston, one of the consultants, and we talked about Cape Cod and Provincetown, people watching, and we go there every single summer, and my dad he's a retired cop now, and I never got it growing up. He'd sit at the bench at where the high school was, next to where the Portuguese bakery was with the fried dough, and he would just sit and watch. I'm like, "What are you doing, Pops?" He's like, "Just watching people." It's a great place to. Anyway, it's the New England connection. But
right.
So you guys by being in the industry, you guys know each other for quite some time.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Of course, yeah.
And how long have you been doing? Have you been CMO at Exhibitor?
Well, I've been CMO for about 6 years, but this is my 30th show as well. 30th Exhibitor Live.
Is this the 30th show of this?
It is. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did I miss? Was there some kind of a 30th celebration theme going on?
No. We're all about moving forward.
But you brought back a very strong theme, though, about we're all human species, right?
Correct. Yes.
Which
yes,
I think
we
is
did.
good.
Yeah.
So I think I've already I'm inclined to ask you these somewhat canned questions, so I'm going to ask them right now. I'm going to go down the line because these are what we're trying to do is get a lot of industry smarties like yourself or people who are new at it to answer these questions, and we're curious to see what the answers are. But I'd like to start with you if I can. Why are you thankful for trade shows? Kind of an SAT question, but there it is. I had to ask it.
So I can get in front of people who can actually say yes.
That's. You don't have to elaborate. It's a perfect answer. And here's one for you. Last one for you. What's one thing you think the industry as a whole? What's one thing that you think the industry as a whole could improve upon?
I think taking the process of exhibiting more seriously, thinking through why are they going, what do they want to achieve, and will they know whether they achieved it or not at the end?
Really well said. Holly, same questions to you is why are you thankful for trade shows?
Well, I've worked in trade shows my entire career, so
Sure.
25, 30 years now. And they continue to get better, and people are, still take them seriously, and they can't be replaced by face-to-face. So I just think I'm so glad that it continues to grow as an industry.
I appreciate the answer. And we're not on video, so for the folks listening to this, there's a very authentic and sincere face that Holly's showing right now. There's a big difference in my... Let's just make believe we're drinking a pint on Cape Cod. And I say to you, there's a big difference between real and rhetoric. You can say lip service, but if you actually get it, you show up and you shake someone's hand and you say, hey, there's a big difference. So I appreciate that. And so same question to you. If there was one thing that you think we as an industry could change, what would that be?
I think I'd like to see staff training be taken more seriously.
Inside, okay.
Yeah, 85% of any exhibitor's success is dependent on the staff. It's not the pretty booth, it's not the cup of coffee they're serving, it's the staff working it that is going to make or break your trade show. And I wish people took it a little bit more seriously and invested the time in giving the tools to the representatives working the booths to be successful.
Can I ask one question specifically within that? And there's a great answer, by the way. Is there something strong within that, like a subset within staff training that you think is critical? Is it, because you talked about before, is taking salespeople and helping them better acclimate to the environment they're in? It reminded me of like when you have a really famous actor or actress and they're on like a talk show. Some of them are very shy because they're not in their element, they're not in their spot, and so it's a different dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So, would you say within the training, taken seriously inside the company, would you say sales specific training is probably a big part of that?
Yeah, I'm talking about not only the right way to engage, but then the right way to have a conversation. Because again, this is a setting that we're using to set up for the next platform of how we're going to get in front of the customer.
Sure.
So we're not having a end-all sale here. So it's knowing how to have the right conversation to move it along to set up for the next action step.
That's teachable?
Absolutely.
Because there's hard skills and soft skills.
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
people can turn it on and have more of a a salesy personality, but some people. But what you're saying, it's more of a mindset. Listen, the young goal here isn't to sell. It's just to just get to know. Can I get you something? Tell me. Listen a little bit, right?
There's a philosophy that goes and used by effective exhibit staffers. Know, trust, like. And if you can get them to know more about you and your company and your offerings, and they like what they hear, then they're going to trust you to take them to the level that you think you can take them.
Yeah. It really just kind of what I'm gathering from a lot of this, and even from our past guests, is it's building a relationship that that's why trade shows are here. They're that, you're in front of that person, you're building that trust, like you just said, and I think that's if anything's going to come out of this, I think that's one that we really should kind of focus on is, get in front of that person, get that right vibe going, speak to them correctly, know what you want, and then the success should come from that.
Right.
So it's encouraging to hear that. The undertone of, or just between each guest we've had here, it's that relationship that we can have with each other is irreplaceable. So it's good to hear.
I think it speaks to how the show's going. Same question to you, John, because I would love to hear from you. Why are you thankful for trade shows? And the backside of that, what's something that we could change to make it better?
Sure. Well, we launched Exhibitor Live as a trade show for trade show people. So it's pretty obvious why I have a vested interest, why I love trade shows. But I think if there's one thing that could be improved upon, and I see it happening, is that realization that this learning is a lifelong process. Mark's got all this experience, but he's so good because he's always learning. Because this environment is dynamic and it changes all the time.
Lovely answer, and I really appreciate everybody's time. The guest right before you talked exactly about that. She struck me as a student of the game. You can never not learn. But if you're the kind of person that thinks like you're not going to be a star athlete or a star performer, you think, I hit my pinnacle, I'm done. You're always trying to improve. So anyway, I have to say, sincerely, it was great to meet all three of you. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us. And I would, if you're in, I'm just going to throw this out there. Guy and I put we're trying to get to the point where we do a weekly podcast meant to give trade show managers and companies that are in the trade show industry, companies that are going to actually go to a trade show, tips and tricks to make their experience better or more effective from an ROI standpoint. I would love it if any of you guys could be on the program. We can just call you on Skype and record it, but we'll reach out to you. But is that something that might be of interest to have you guys be on the show? It's 20-minute, 10-minute conversations, learn a little bit more about what you guys do, and obviously love to have you on there as well. But
yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thanks very much for coming. It was great to meet everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Creative Spaces Podcast. For more information about Highway 85 Creative, visit us at highway85creative.com.